We are continuing with our study of Daf Yomi. We are on Eruvin Daf Sadi Zayin Amud Aleph, by where it says Shitzi Atzvi Siman. So last time we were speaking about tefillin. Now we're continuing talking about tefillin and how we could carry them in from Rishut Harabim into Rishut Yachid if you were to find that. So Vahash Shadatani Avua de Shmuel Bar Rav Yitzchak Elohen Yishanot. Kol sheyesh bahen urtzuot u'kusharot chadashot elo bahen urtzuot v'lo mekusharot chulei alma lo tarach inish. So before we spoke about the difference between you're being able to bring in a used pair but not a new pair. So how do we determine one that's been used versus not? So we determine one that's been used versus unused. That they are used if they have been tied with the proper tefillin knot, both for the tefillin shel rosh and the tefillin shel yad. And what the new ones are when they have the strap, but they have not yet been tied. Because a person wouldn't have made a kamei, an amulet that was not like, and have also made it with a tefillin knot that have made a different type of knot, or no knot at all. So the question is, so if this happened to be the case, and you found a pair of tefillin that didn't have a knot yet tied, so the Gemara asks, so why don't you simply tie it now? So Amar Rav Chisda says, Zodo Meret Aniva Psula B'Tfilin. So why don't you simply tie a bow? And then you could, and then even though it's not tied yet, you can now it'll be considered to be tied to an extent. You can put it on your head. So rather, what does this imply? The Zodo Meret Aniva Psula B'Tfilin. This implies that making a bow is no good for tefillin, but otherwise it would be fine. So by Amar Rabbi Yehuda L'Tamei to Amar Aniva Kshiram Ayatahi. So the Beit says no, that's not the reason. Rather, Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that tying a bow is considered to be a proper knot, and therefore it's us to do so on Shabbos. So for all of us who tie our shoelaces, so that would, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that seemingly that would be a violation of Torah law. So Tama Daniva Kshir Malay Halav Hachi Anevlu. So the Eruvin asks, so that means the whole reason is based on the fact that the bow is a proper knot. Amar Yehuda Breider Shmuel Bar Shela Bishmei Rav Kesher Shel Tefillin Halach Mosh Misinayu V'Amar Rav Nachman V'Noyan Levar. So now, as far as the question of what knot you need for tefillin, so the answer is that the type of knot that you need is Halach Mosh Misinai, and the point is of when you tie it is that you end up having the shape of either the dalid or the yud should be. Depending, I don't know what dalid and the yud, depending on whether you're talking about the square or the dalid type of tefillin knot, right? That should be on the outside. So, which would imply that again, a bow wouldn't work because a bow would not display a letter. So the anevlu kain shir yidu. No, so the answer is the Gemara says no. It could have been that you had tied this tefillin in a way that even though you used it with a bow, you managed to tie it in a way that looks like the proper tefillin knot would. So, right, and that's how even if it happened to be a pair that wasn't yet tied, you could still tie it and then wear it to bring it inside. So Amar Rav Chisda Amar Rav. Chisda said the name of Rav. Halokech tefillin mish ein mumcha bodek shtayim shel yad v'echad shel rosh or shtayim shel rosh v'echad shel yad. So, and so Rav Chisda says, if you bought tefillin from somebody who's not an expert, meaning is not necessarily known to be reliable for providing proper tefillin, so you should check 2 parshiot of the tefillin shel yad and 1 of the tefillin shel rosh. Alternatively, you can check 2 of the tefillin shel rosh and 1 of the tefillin shel yad. So the Gemara then asks, either way, this doesn't work. If the purchase, if the person you're buying from now bought from somebody else, so why are you making him check some from the tefillin shel rosh, some from the tefillin shel yad? Let him do 3 from either. Why is he doing part from each? And if the person who's not selling to you had bought the tefillin from 2 or 3 people, And if you think that, so I don't understand why we're doing the number of 2 and 1. If you're trying to establish a chazak of being kosher, you should have to check 3 of either the shel rosh or of the shel yad, and if they're considered to be good, they're good. But if you bought from multiple people, then every single one you'd have to check, because for all you know, each one of them wrote a different parsha in the tefillin, and therefore you'd have to check all of them in order to make sure that it's it's kosher. So really, the person you're buying it from bought it from a singular individual. Rather, you bought it from a single individual who bought it, meaning the person you're buying from now bought it from somebody else, or if you're buying from an actual sofer, but you're not sure about how good he is. So then you need to check both something amongst the shel rosh and the shel yad in order to make sure that he actually knows what he's doing and that he's not, and that he's actually an expert. So Ini, that's really what you're supposed to do. Ha tani Rabba bar Shmuel, but tefillin bodek shalosh shel yad v'shel rosh. But Rabbi Bar Shmuel says you're supposed to check 3 from the shel rosh and 3 from the shalosh shel yad. So my love, o shalosh shel yad, o shalosh shel rosh. No, so to do what does that mean that he had to do 3 of each? No, lo. Shalosh mehen shel yad mehen shel rosh. Now you should check a total of 3, whether it be from. Now, not that he's checking 3 parshiot, rather it means he's checking 3 different pairs of tefillin. So then the question for that is, how would that make sense? How Tanur Kahana, but tefillin bodek shtayim shel yad v'shel rosh. So another Rav Kahana saying you check 2 from shel yad and 2 from shel rosh. So that's not 2 separate pairs, that's within the same pair. How many Rebbe he Amar betrays zimnei? No, that's exactly talking about. And that's fine. Here it's saying is that 2 is enough for chazaka, and this is comment machlokah we have about chazaka is it by 2 times or 3 times. So Rabbi, if you're going to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, so aim of seifa v'chein bat seven sheni v'chein bat seven shlishi. If that's the case, then you shouldn't interpret it of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. You should have stopped talking about the second set of tefillin, a third set of tefillin. V'i Rabbi shlishi me'ilay. But if you're talking about Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's opinion, so Rabbi Yehuda Nasi would say that you only need to check 2. So what are you saying? 2 or 3? I don't understand. So Moder Rabbi Bitzvatim Dimitre Tzlat Gavri Zavit. No, the answer is that Rabbi Yehuda would admit that in the case of these bundles of tefillin, that they probably were bought from 2 or 3 different people. Ihaki afilu Ravi Nami afilu Chamishi Nami. If that's the case, you'd have to check 4 or 5 different pairs of tefillin, so you can make sure that you got a kosher pair of tefillin in the end. Right, because the chazaka is not going to work until you for sure have 3 from one individual producer of tefillin. So inachinami, you're right. So that's what you should do. You should check 4 or 5 based on the number of people that it's bought from. Fahad katani shalishi lapuki mechaskei l'olam afilu revi v'chamishi nami. So we're all just talking about the case of how much you need in order to get to the point of chazaka of them all being kosher. So therefore, depending on a number of original sources of the tefillin, whether it be 1, 2, or 3 people, as well, or not, you'll have to check 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs of tefillin. Okay, so then we mentioned metzan tzvatim akrichot. You found them tied in bundles, wrapped in piles. So my tzvatim, my akrichot. So what does that mean? So Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, heinen tzvatim, heinen krichot. So Rav said it's the same thing. And what it means is that there's multiple involved. Sfatim zavizabe krichot dikrichi tuva. Right? So they're called zuve. If they're done pair by pair, they're called krichot tuva. There's more than not just a singular pair, but the other more than that. So let me show you a diagram. Here we go. So again, here we go. This is the case of Zvatim is when there's, again, 1 shal riyad and 1 shal rosh, whereas krichot is that they're not, connected with any particular grouping. It's just, a whole bunch of tefillin together. So now we continue back to mention. So you wait till it gets dark and then you can bring them if they're bundled like this, because we're not sure about their status. So v'amai. The island who's zug. I don't understand. Well, I have to wait till after Shabbos. Bring them in 1 pair at a time. However many pairs there are. So more of Yitzchak, Braid to Rav Yehuda, L'didim, Mefarash Shalem Minei I heard an explanation of this from my father. That kol she'ilu machnisan zuzu v'chalot kodem shkiat chama machnisin zuzu below mafshik alein u'mavian. So that is, if you were at enough time before sunset to bring them all one pair at a time. If you didn't, then you're supposed to wait till after Shabbos and then bring them all at once. Okay, and then uvesakana machasan holech. And this again back to Mishnah. At time of danger, you want simply cover the tefillin up and then move on his way. We do learn in the Beit that in case of danger, you're supposed to move them 4 amot at a time. Samarav lo kasha. How is the kanat goyim? How is the kanat listim? So, answer depends what's the circumstances. Whether or not you're dealing with a danger of a non-Jew of the decree of the local non-Jewish government, in which case you don't want to be found carrying it at all because it's dangerous, as opposed to the case if you're the dangerous supposed to list him, because they're only the only real fear there is if you stay there till after dark, but during daylight hours, odds are the bandits aren't going to come after you. So therefore, you're allowed to carry them less than 4 hours at a time in order to bring them from the public domain to the private domain. Amrle Abaye, Mayo came to let me. So do you mean? So why do you think the whole Mishnah talking about the case where you're worried about the non-Jews catching tefillin and then you get in trouble for that? Ema Seifa, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Nanu Chavero, Chavero Chavero, Kol Shekain to Av Shemilta. So then, if you're saying this is all talking about a case of the danger of a non-Jew seeing you wearing a pair of tefillin and then you being put in danger as a result. So then I understand that how can Rabbi Shimon at the end say you pass it from person to person? That's going to raise suspicions. Then the non-Jewish government that decreed for your destruction is going to catch you, and then that'll be it for you. So no, here's what the full version of the BAYT should have been. That when we say that you're supposed to cover it, that's when it's time of danger from non-Jews. But in time of danger but when the danger is from non-Jews, and that's when you simply cover it, and then that's it. But if the danger is from bandits, so that's when you say you can carry it less than 4 amot at a time, or use for multiple people passing from person to person less than 1 amot, and that's how it would be able to work out. Okay, back to the Mishnah. Right, so Rabbi Shimon says you each give it to your friend and less than 1 amot, and that's how you get it all the way back to Rishon Yachi. So my commitment, so what's the argument between Rabbi Shimon and the rest and the Tanakh of the Mishnah? Mars Savar Palcho me'arba amot adif di'emar no dan chavero v'vel chavero asha milta d'Shabbos. So one says that what are the arguments? So again, the Tanakh says that it's preferable to carry it less than 4 amot at a time because it's going to be easier to do so and not as noticeable if you simply carry 4 amot less 4 amot at a time. Whereas if you start passing it around, everybody's noticing that you're violating Shabbos. Marsa, we're not and then Rabbi Shimon says it's better to give it from person to person. No, because if you give from person to person, you're never going to end up making the mistake of going more than Dal Amot. But if you're simply doing yourself and trying to move less than 4 amot at a time, you can always end up losing track and accidentally going more than Dal Amot, and therefore accidentally end up carrying Dal Amot Judge Rabim. So, and that would be worse. So then the Mishnah continues. Some of the cases somebody has a baby that's been born. So my bayatam. So what's your son doing here? So again, how does this happen? Is that the mother gave birth to him in the field? So what does it mean by requiring 100 people? Rather, the point is that even though it's difficult to be for him to be carried from hand to hand, and you just do that 100 times, which is very difficult, it's still preferable than having to take the method of walking less than 4 amot each time. Okay, so next we have the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Omer Noten Adam Chavit. Right, so again, Rabbi Yehuda says based on this, therefore you can always pass a barrel of water from one to another, and that way you can even pass the Zichron of Shabbos. So later Rabbi Yehuda had it non. So the question then, doesn't Rabbi Yehuda know that we taught in the Mishnah that the animals and utensils are considered to be like have the same Tchum Shabbos as the person who picks them up and owns them. So therefore, how are you saying you take it outside of the Tchum here? So Rish Lakish, Mishum Levi Saba. So Rish Lakish answers the name of Levi Saba. Hakor Mayaskinan b'Ma'aran Nechavit Nechavit. So what is the case here? Is that you had poured the contents from one barrel to another barrel. So therefore, so the contents would be included in there. So Rabbi Yehuda l'tamei the Amar Mai Amen Mamash. And this works. Rabbi Yehuda says that the water itself isn't considered to be a matter of substance, and therefore tchum would not apply to it. So umay lo halazu lo yelet bazu yitemer aglebalim. Then does the Mishnah mean that you shall not take this more than the distance of the tchum of the owner? Lo yelet ma shebazu yitemer aglebalim. Rather, it means that which is in this particular barrel should not go farther than the feet of the owner may go. But in this case, the water doesn't count. So Amar Deshama Leila Rabbi Yehuda Hechad Deblian Beisa. So maybe we should say something else. So Rabbi Yehuda said that's when he said it had no substance. That was a different case entirely. That was about saying that if you had talking about on Yom Tov, if you had needed water into bread. But that case, according to Rabbi Yehuda, was when you're talking about again when you needed water into dough. That's not the case here. Here, the water is actually there. Who says that it's water as if it doesn't exist? Hasha b'kadera. Amar Yehuda labadli, but I know you badli. I understand you could say that maybe it's batal as part of a dish, but here it's pure water. Here, how are you saying that that it's invisible? To Chanya, as we learned in the right, Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mayu Melach B'Telim Isa. Rabbi Yehuda had said that if you borrowed water and salt from your neighbor, and then made food with it, then made the dough with it, so they don't count the fact that it was your neighbor's dough and water. That doesn't affect the tchum of this bread right now. However, they would not be nullified in the case of a pot because the water and salt, you can still see it from the gravy, right? From the sauce. So Ella Amar Rava, Hacha B'chavit Shekanta Shrita. Umayim Shalokana Shrita Skinan. Tabat Lachavit Lagavi Mayim. Rather, what is the case here? Where the barrel has acquired Shrita, meaning it had been rested somewhere before Shabbos, whereas the water is something that had not been Kona Shrita. Is it even water than in motion? So there's water in a stream, water in a pipe, right? Or rainwater that was rainwater that had been in clouds. So once the water hadn't yet had its fixed location, so therefore it doesn't have it has no tchum yet, whereas the barrel does, and therefore you'd say that the barrel is nullified versus the water, since the barrel doesn't matter. We only care about the water, therefore that's how you can carry it even outside of the tchum. Yeah, so because we say we pretend that the barrel doesn't exist because the barrel is only there for the water, and the water would in turn then not have a tchum. Kirit is learned in the Mishnah. Hamotzi hachabi mita patur alamita mibnei shamita tefilalo. Similarly, learned in the Mishnah that if you took out that if you carried out a living person on a bed from one rishus to another rishus, you're not chayav for carrying the bed into rishut harabim rishut yachid, because just like you're allowed to carry a living person with chayav, no, say that's what a living person carries themselves. Similarly, you're not chayav on the bed you used to carry them either. Similarly, if you carry out food that's less than the amount of food you'd be chayav for carrying on Shabbos, if you carried it out in a utensil, then you're not chayav for carrying out the container either. Because that container is considered secondary to the food, and therefore you're not considered going to be chayav for the container. Ma Meitiv Rav Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda Omer B'Shiara. So now we're saying that we're objecting to this. Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is the water doesn't count. Because we said Rabbi Yehuda Omer B'Shiara, about the barrel being able to be considered to be erased, because we learned in a Braita that Rav Yosef, that in the case of a shera, in case of a caravan, the kid that wants to be able to drink, so each of them would pass the barrel from one to the other. The shiara in, shelo b'shera lo. So this works in a caravan. Would this work in any other circumstance? So Ella Amar Yosef Kitna Nami Manitim Asheratna. So rather, what Yosef says that our Mishnah is talking about the case in a caravan as well, and therefore Mermeka, because the caravan in general would not be the case. So by Amar Shera Filu Chavit Shekanta Shvita Mam Shekanu Shvita. So Abaye says, if it's a caravan, then even if the barrel and the water both require shvita, so you'd be allowed to do so. Shalom b'shera, chavit shekanta shvita, umayim shalakanu shvita. And if the case is in a case, but if you're not in a caravan moment, so in order for you to be able to carry the barrel outside of the tchum, it must be that the barrel had acquired a resting place on Shabbos, and therefore it has a tchum, whereas the water has not been kona shvita, therefore does not have a acquired residence and does not have a tchum. Ravashi Amar Hacha B'chavi Dehefker Askinan Umayim Nefker Askinan. Ravashi tells it differently. He says the king must be the barrel as well as the water are ownerless. Man Amru Zur Rav Yochanan Amrulo Rav Yochanan Nuri. Who is the one who says the same as Rav Yochanan Nuri? Amar Chetze Hever Kona Shvita. The question is about Rabbi Yochanan Nuri, who says that items that are ownerless are considered a shvita where they currently are. And what do you mean by saying you can't take more than 2,000 amot of the owners, according to Rabbi Yochanan Nuri? It means to say that an ownerless item, according to Rabbi Yochanan Nuri, can't go any further than if it had been owned, meaning it's limited to 2,000 amot from its current location. Okay, next Mishnah. Hayakori b'sefer arli. Scroll bar migalgal sefer miyado golo eslo. So somebody was reading some sort of scroll on a raised landing, and then it fell down into the Reshut Harabim. The question is what to do. So if it roll down, you can simply roll it back up to yourself, assuming you're still holding on to part of it. Though if you were on a roof and then the scroll unrolled, as long as the bottom of the scroll has not hit the ground, you can still roll holding back up to you. But once it's in the top of the ground, you can no longer roll it back up, and instead you simply flip it over, so that way the script is against the wall, and then you leave it there. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Afilu ein mesuk min haaretz ela k'mo machat gololo asar. Rabbi Yehuda says, even if it is any amount above the ground, you're allowed to, even the amount of a needle, you're allowed to roll back to you. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Afilu be'eretz atzbar tatzmo golo atzlo she'en lecha davar mishum shvut or maybe it's naked kodesh. Rabbi Shimon says, even if it actually hit the ground, you should roll back to you, because we say that the Isra D'Rabbanan will not get in the way of protecting a sacred writing, so therefore we would allow you to roll it back up. Tomorrow we'll continue with Gemara. Take care, everybody.